The hunt is finally over. My months-long quest to lock in on hardware in the face of the dumbest trade war in 100 years has finally reached its conclusion because I found the last piece of the puzzle. For those who have not been following along, I've been taking all of my old retro consoles and making sure they have either an optical disc emulator or they have games that can run off of the hard drive. That's GameCube, PS2, Saturn, Xbox, Dreamcast, all of that is done, locked in, I'm good. The last piece though was my PC, because a 3070 in 2025 with 8 gigs of VRAM, not really cutting it. And I've been hunting since like February for that one last thing, which is the GPU, and we've reached that point where I now have in my hands a 5070 Ti. They didn't make it easy, but I got one, and I didn't quite pay MSRP, but it was pretty close, and honestly, the way things have been going, I'm good. I'm locked in. I got a PS5 Pro, I got Xbox Series X. I will hopefully, fingers crossed, I have a pre-order for a Switch 2 in a few weeks here, but this one was the one that I was like, well, is it gonna happen? Is it not gonna happen? And I lucked out, and I got one, so now this replaces the 3070, which goes into the other computer over here, and it's gonna be a whole upgrade process, so let's go. And so, let's unbox this bad boy and see what the deal is to gaming and beyond. I don't know what this is. Is it a manual? Why is it in the bag? I don't get it. It's one over there. Anyhow, let's see what's under there. Oh, there we go. Video card ahoy, and it's certainly... Oh, wow, that's actually pretty freaking heavy. That is chunk and a half. Good lord. Okay, and then of course our little power cable wires and other nonsense wires are down here. And we're good. Let's get it all hopefully in the system and working properly, but no guarantees. You never know. And does it have the proper amount of ROPS? Power adapter, mounting bracket, and yes, that is one thick-ass boy. And what was in the bag? Of course it was indeed the manual and a sticker and, you know, that kind of stuff. And so here is how things look currently. I just dusted like a month and a half ago, and we're back to having a bunch of dust here on all these parts, and that's fun. I'll do some more dusting after I get this thing in here, I suppose. But yes, this 3070 FE is coming out, going into my other computer to replace a 1070 that's been in there for a while, and I should just have enough room here to make this happen. But boy, even on a full-size case, these GPUs are obscene. So of course, the big change, power-wise, is instead of having this one, we're gonna have two. And that should be, you know, fine, because I did quadruple check this power supply. It's 750 and it should do the job. If I gotten a 5080, then no. A 70 Ti should be fine. Oh, good lord, look at that layer of dust on the back of this. The old card versus the... Look at that difference. Good lord, that's insane. We have reached the point where this is just gonna be like, you can't... diminishing returns. Like, how much bigger can they get to fit in the case still? And so 10, 30, 50, and honestly, looking at the camera here does not quite do it justice as to just how much thicker and bigger this 50 is as compared to the 30. It's a hefty boy. So yes, it does fit with a tiny bit of clearance here between this fan, this case fan, and the actual deal. That's fine. We're gonna screw it in here and then route the power back under and then through to this nonsense, and hopefully it works. Fingers crossed. And so this deal here is actually magnetic and will stick to my power supply, and then I can support this GPU and its heft. But also I had one already from my 3070, which was this deal here, which I kind of had in and did it like that to support the heft on the 3070 to make sure that that thing was fine, and that also is a magnet on the bottom of that. So either way, it ain't going nowhere. My motherboard should be fine with the heft of this thing, I hope. And so with one connected, we need to dig out my other one from the box of the power supply. And I suppose technically you could attempt to use this here to daisy chain, but honestly I wouldn't trust that with my life, so we're gonna have just a separate rail here for this deal, because come on now. Hopefully it pulls the power evenly and does not melt things, but yeah, we'll see. And so I'll deal with the cable management routing stuff later. Obviously making sure everything works here and is in tip-top condition is the paramount problem, so we'll get that taken care of first and plug things back in and hope for the best. Not a big RGB guy, but I guess it's got some RGB. Back into Windows, yes, we have detection, but of course, whenever you put in a new GPU, you should go into safe mode, wipe the drivers, and then start fresh. I've redeemed my Steam copy of Doom, and more importantly, we have 96 ROPS, so we are complete with that. Now, there was only one benchmark that I ran before I did this upgrade, and that was indeed Cyberpunk 2077. And so in order to best represent what is going on here with the uplift, I once again have it on Ray Tracing Overdrive, but because my 30 series does not support frame gen, let's leave it off here for this benchmark. And so, while with frame gen on certainly does increase the amount of frames you get, but going from a barely 30 frames a second on this benchmark on a 3070 into pretty much double the frames. So obviously with frame gen more, but just in terms of raw raster, we get double the frames, and I'm pretty happy with that. 69.99 average FPS without frame gen, but otherwise everything else was maxed out. But because I know someone's going to ask, alright, what does it look like with the frame gen turned on and maxed out? It is indeed around a 200 frames per second average on this benchmark, which again, is crazy. This monitor does 144 hertz, so you know, I could pretty much max things out at a 1440p resolution. And so here's the footage of me walking around with everything maxed out on that 3070. It's, unless you stand still, it's basically unplayable. And so while there is some fine-tuning to be done for sure, this is infinitely better, because of course it was infinitely newer and much more expensive, but here we are, and I can finally get in a good full playthrough. I can't wait. And so I have a mess to clean up, and I have to finish up on the other machine with the 3070. That's not really urgent, so that can wait for a little bit as I continue to benchmark. Here is my old last year's Time Spy score. Here is the current Time Spy score in 3D Mark. And when it comes to the next 5-6 years in terms of hardware, I'm locked in. Whatever happens in this dumb tariff trade war situation, you can't touch me. I'm done. I'm finished. Locked in, and man, can I render a 4K video real fast now and make these games happen real well on a nice new video card. I'm attackslug. More videos coming right at you here on this channel. I'll see you then, see you here, see you next time, and I'm out.